Today on Black Hollywood Live's Breaking Into, we're going to talk, my guest and I are going to talk film, theater, stage, screen, the children, and making people laugh while thinking. Next.
Yeah!
I love it, that's good.
You are tuned in to Black Hollywood Live's Breaking Into.
Yes, we are back. I was just getting down for a second. Welcome to Breaking Into here on Black Hollywood Live. I'm your host, James Law Jr. And you know what I like to do here is talk to people who lift each other up, share knowledge, and pay it forward. That's my motto, of course. And this guest does all three. It is an honor to have him in my studio today. And I'm going to just read to you a little bit of what this man is all about. He's an actor of stage and screen. He is a spoken word artist and poet. He is a comedian. He is a host, writer, producer, teacher. He is a two-time HBO Deaf Poet and Emmy Award winner. He does a lot of work with my first Breaking Into guest, Joshua Silverstein, which you can watch here on Black Hollywood Live. It's just, I'm just so happy to have him here and that he was able to make it today, and I'm just happy. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Hernandez Kolski.
Yeah!
Yes,
oh my
goodness.
That's
your
happy
intro.
To be here.
That's your intro.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing awesome, dude. I'm very excited to be here with you here today.
Yes, we were just talking before we came on. Where did I come from?
Yes. So where are you? You're in my life now. You're like all up in my. I'm like, what? You're all up in my news feed all the time now. Josh was like, I'm going to do this interview thing, and I'm like, oh, okay, you go do that. And then I found out it was Black Hollywood Live, and I was like, oh, okay, because he's black. So okay. It's like, why didn't I get that call? And then I got the call a couple weeks later. I was so excited.
Yes, I knew I was going to have both of you on here. Just I knew Joshua first. Joshua Silverstein I met. He was my Uber driver.
Joshua has every reason to be your first guest.
Oh yeah, completely.
He's ridiculously talented.
I mean ridiculously talented.
Just get him to believe it.
That we talked about it on my show. We talked
Absolutely.
about that. But he's such a kind soul and just a real authentic person.
Well, I feel like at any point in your life, regardless of whatever your thing is, your thing becomes your thing. But like at some point, it becomes like I just feel like sometimes it becomes like inauthentic. Mm-hmm. Like I've been messing with him, saying, "Dude, I know it's a funny joke that you're like, no, I hate myself more than anybody does." Mm-hmm. Like, and now I'm like, yeah, but you let's start removing that from your dialogue or whatever. Because I think like as like a gentleman, like I was raised to be a gentleman by my mom, very strong mother, and at some point I feel like it became a little bit of a tactic. Like I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna walk on the outside of the sidewalk. Let's see if she notices. And it totally, like where is it genuine and where is it still like, that's your thing now.
It's like things become shtick.
Well, yeah, what's the thing we hold on to that's maybe not authentic to us, but we put it in our brain, and so now it's become our thing.
Right. And it's a difference between self-deprecation and a joke here and there, and it's something that you kind of think, is it a recurring thing? Is it really part of your life?
Yeah. I mean, and it's like, I'm trying to say now more these days, until today. So like, oh, I have a hard time getting into this or getting into those auditions until today or whatever it is. Like, what am I trying to now start letting go of? Like, what are the things we carry that we don't need to carry with us?
That's a good point. Now, you bring a really good point. Being in this business that's not stable, you and I both chose it. And I felt,
correct.
Or let me rephrase that. Did it choose you?
I was 6 years old and I was sitting in the South Bend Presbyterian Players church theater, whatever, and my mom was on stage. I grew up in Chicago. Let's go back a little bit.
Let's go back a little, kids.
So I grew up in Chicago. I was born there, and when I was around 4, my dad got a job working he worked for Otis Elevator Company at the time.
Oh, funny. Otis. Okay,
and, he got a job in South Bend, and so from the age of 4 to 9, we lived in South Bend. And I think my mom was having a hard time adjusting to not having family around, and so she got involved in community theater. Oh, wow. And so I very vividly remember sitting there going, oh, that looks like fun. I want to do that. I probably, considering that I've always been full of myself, I probably thought, oh, that looks easy, I can do that.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure if it was that looks easy, I can do that, or that looks like fun, I can do that.
Yeah.
It's probably both of them. But I said I want to be in this play, and my mom was like, "You need to go talk to that gentleman over there. His name is Mr. Brubaker. He's the director. Go ask him." And I remember being like, "No." And she was like, "Go do it."
Right.
And so she never did anything for me, and
Oh, wow.
you know, always made me do everything myself. So I went and asked him, and they wrote me into the play, and I've been acting really ever since.
So you were bitten.
Yeah, I mean it's so I did theater. I started doing professional theater in Chicago when I was 12. My sister and I, hi Christina. I think you're watching in Chicago.
Oh, hi Christina.
She's a social worker for the Chicago Public Schools.
God bless
So
her.
we love what we do,
Yeah.
and we started doing professional. We were like these token child actors for professional theater. Anytime they needed kids, we were in it.
Okay.
So we would be passed around from theater company
Yeah.
to theater company. And we did theater, and then I was like, well, I want to get a solid education. And at the time, I was planning on going to Notre Dame because that's where my dad and my
that makes
grandfather
sense.
both went. I would have been a legacy, which would have killed me.
yeah.
I have such stereotypes about legacies,
I'm
and
sure.
I would
I'm
have
sure.
been one.
Yes.
Would have gone against all my stereotypes about entitlement. I'm so entitled. And I ended up getting into Princeton. And
Yeah,
it
you
was,
went to Princeton.
it was my dad who was like reading kind of the writing on the wall, and he was like, I think you really should apply to an Ivy League school. And I was like, I kept referring to it as my long shot. And I got into Princeton, and I remember being like, dude, this is Princeton. You've really got to focus.
Yeah.
You've got to stay. Oh, is that an audition notice? And like in 2 weeks was
funny.
like doing theater again. So, and it's all I've ever loved. So.
But you got into Princeton, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, I come from a political family.
Okay.
So my grandmother, my mother's mother, was Irene C. Hernandez. Google her.
Ooh,
She
do
was
it.
a major Latina. She was a major city politician for the city of Chicago. She was Cook County commissioner. She
Oh,
was
wow.
the first Latina on the city level. And
Wow.
so that was my mother's side, and then my father's side, my grandpa was a Republican ward committeeman.
Oh my God.
So at my parents' wedding, the groomsmen, thinking they were funny, didn't ask, are you a part of the bride's family or the groom's family? They asked, are you Democrat or Republican?
That is
Started.
hilarious. Okay.
So yeah, so I come from a highly political family, so it was either going to be politics or it was going to be entertainment. I got suspended from Princeton the middle of my junior year.
Okay.
I was so over-involved in extracurricular activities, and I was so determined to make a difference. I remember saying to my mom freshman year, as they were dropping me off, I'm going to show this school a thing or two. So I was so over-involved, I didn't care a lot about my studies. I wasn't paying attention to them. And I ended up getting charged with plagiarism. So...
Oh my God.
Right? I'm talking everything today.
Please, let's just spill it.
So I was in tech rehearsals for Moliere's The Misanthrope.
Oh, okay.
And so it was a really intense production. I very specifically remember going, all right, guys, I got to go. It was 12 o'clock, and I was like, I got to go write this paper. Totally wasn't paying attention to it. Like, thought about my thesis, was like, okay, I believe in this thesis. This works. This is what I'm trying to say. Oh, that section from that book says that. I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to put that in. And, like, I don't know how other people do it, but, you know, you take what you're trying to say, but then you put it into your own words.
Yes, right.
I didn't put it into my own words. And I just turned it
Alrighty.
in, and they were like, that's no. See that chunk there?
Clearly,
that was
no.
written by someone else.
Yes. Oh my
And
God.
so they suspended me for a year.
Okay.
And it was the greatest thing in my life. And this is what I really believe. If we look at our lives are not the sometimes they're the beautiful moments, but the dark moments are the moments that we really, that's life. Like,
Yes.
That's what we grow from.
Yes.
So if you were to ask me what are the major moments in my life, so I got suspended, and I had an epiphany where I was like, oh, this is negative if I choose it to be negative. It's positive if I choose it to be positive. And so I have a tattoo now from what somebody said to me, which is Chinese crisis is made up of danger and opportunity.
Ooh.
And so I really believe within every crisis lies opportunity. And so I ended up applying for a White House internship, and I ended up working in the White House healthcare war room under Clinton, doing speech writing and policy analysis. And that's what I did by the day. You didn't make a lot of money working at the White House.
Sure.
So I worked as a club dancer by night.
Oh, that's how funny is that?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I would jump up on a box in the middle of a house club from 10:30 to 2 in the morning every half hour.
Stop right there. So go ahead and play that clip. Actually, with Joshua Stone, he talked right into the clip of what Joshua said about you on my
let's do
show.
it.
It's really quick.
This is my partner, people.
Are better dancers than I am. I'm not gonna go out for the dancing role because I'm not a dancer.
Right.
You know, my buddy Joe is an amazing dancer.
Is he really? Oh, wow.
He's great. He's great. He should do that. I can dance. I'm capable of movement.
Yeah.
But I'm not a dancer.
But
So-
so you're like, you fit right
So
into
that
the
is
show
funny.
we're
Why?
talking about,
Thank you. That's the
like
best
that.
clip. That's funny. I picked that part of the clip to play for you later, and you talked right
That's
into it.
hysterical. Well, because dancing is
dancing.
critical to me.
So you danced for money. I mean,
I
you know,
totally did. I
and-
worked at this Club Z.
Okay.
If we have any DC people out there, it's not around anymore.
Yeah.
But if you were in the house music scene in the 90s, it was totally there.
So and that's what I thought it was just funny that when he talked about it, he brought up your dancing.
Oh, totally. It was a critical part of my life. That
Yeah.
moment was a critical moment in my life because not only did I learn how to. I was taken off my pedestal, first of all. Up until then, I was like, I can't do no wrong, and I'm not allowed to do no wrong because I have to make a difference, and I have to prove for my family what I'm capable of doing. And this is the first time I was like, oh, I'm human, and I get to tell everybody that I'm human. So, like, my mom didn't want me to tell our family members. She was like,
wow.
no, don't tell
Well,
me.
of course not.
I was like, heck yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I want people to know that, like, you know. So... And also, it was the first time I ever saw myself as a sexual being because I was like this kid who just always saw himself as the best friend. And so, like, again, that's like,
okay.
what are the things we carry that we don't necessarily need to? But I always saw myself as that. And so I always found, I think, examples to prove that. And so up until then, and now I'm like, or at the age of 20, I wasn't even legal to be working there.
God, that's
I
right.
used my cousin Joe's I used his real ID. He's a year and a half older than me.
Okay.
I used his ID to get into the club to
That's so
audition.
funny. That's funny.
So, but at that point, like, it was the first time I ever saw like women admiring me, and like, oh, it was amazing, so much fun.
It's funny you brought that up because I remember it took me into my 30s to realize that I was kind of a sexual being. That I thought, well, everybody likes me because of my personality. Because I'm funny, because I'm friendly, because I'm
Yeah.
nice. I put so much emphasis on that stuff that I always said, well, whoever I got with me was because of those things.
Yeah.
Can't be because they think I'm good looking or that I'm sexy or anything.
Well, and this is what I think. I think this is unfortunately where friend zone stuff happens. Is men aren't secure enough in their looks to be able to say to a woman, "I'm attracted to you. I want to take you out." They think, at least I have, like, once she gets to know me, then the chances of her liking me are better. So you end up trying to hide how you feel about her, hoping that she's going to come around. And that's not real. That's a porn fantasy.
Right.
Like, that's the basis of most porn.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh, yeah.
what? You like? I didn't. Oh, what are you doing? I know you've been watching me. What?
Totally. Yeah, totally.
You know, and that's not real, and it's miscommunication, and in my own material, I'm really trying to figure out how to make fun of myself and all of that.
One of the things I really admire about you, and I admire a lot of things about you, and I've seen some of your work, is that I titled this, I subtitle all my shows, and this one was subtitled Conscious Entertainment.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's something that's what you do. And I always want to know, because I get a chance to actually ask you, how to find what are the ways you find the funny when you're doing social commentary? Because there are some folks who do it really well, like a Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, Richard Pryor. He would tell something that was really screwed up out of childhood, and you were laughing about it.
Yeah.
There are people who do it really well, and I think you do it really well too. When did the social consciousness enter your life in terms of art?
Dang.
Let's get in there.
It's always been a part of what I do. Gosh, why? I mean, I think I just was raised with a certain belief in making a difference and knowing that I'm lucky, that I'm really lucky that I did have two supportive parents, and I grew up in a very multicultural background. Like, so I wish I need to find it. I have these like these WGN Extra Effort Award videos.
Oh wow, WGN. Oh yeah.
So like they profiled me in high school.
Wow.
And I'm like, got this terrible mullet, and zits.
No,
and
no,
like,
not at all.
And I attended a black high school, and I'm on camera going, I think racism is the most important thing that we need to address in America, and I think, so like, and I created like the intercultural relations group at my high school, and really wanted to like talk about all this stuff.
Yes.
And I'm not quite sure where it came from.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? I do really think it came back to.
Here we go. Let's do it.
It came back to. Do you remember there was a T-shirt that I don't know if it was out here. It was in Chicago. It had Malcolm X on the front with a gun, and it said "By any means necessary." And on the back, it said,
Yes.
"It's a black thing you wouldn't
Yeah, I
understand."
remember a shirt. I remember we had it. I remember a shirt.
I was so angry at those T-shirts.
Oh, wow.
Because I was like,
I can't wear
What
it."
do you mean I don't understand?
Yes.
I'm gonna understand. So like, I became like an African American studies minor in college.
Oh, wow, okay.
And like I was determined to understand.
Yeah.
And so I think some of it comes from just, I don't know, like I just think just coming from my parents who raised me to treat people as you wish to be treated, and knowing that I have opportunities that others don't, and you have to take advantage of that, and you do have to pay it. You do have to lift each other up, share knowledge, and pay it forward.
Yeah.
Like I think it is critical.
I agree.
And
What's your ethnic background for people who may not know?
I'm Polish and Mexican. So
Two strong ethnicities.
So people still associate me with food. They say,
I was just thinking that.
"Wow, what does that give you? A love for kielbasa with a side of frioles?" No, it gives me white privilege with the side of street cred.
Hey, I like that. I like that. That's so true because I'm going to ask you because of the way you look too. I'm sure that's gotten
Polish
your
and
fortune.
Mexican make Italian.
Oh my god, it's so funny.
That's what people think.
That is so fun. I can totally see that now. You just said that.
Yeah, it's been.
You say-
I ran from it as a kid. I was
Okay.
not proud of being Mexican. My Polish grandmother used to introduce me to her friends as, "This is Joey, my Mexican grandson." Till the day that I introduced her as, "This is Charlotte, my racist grandma."
Good for you.
No, I introduced her as, "This is Charlotte, my Polish grandma," and that's when she stopped doing it.
Wow, funny.
But I think a lot of it is just ingrained in our culture. I think being insecure, like my mom put Joe Hernandez Kolski on my headshots when I was 12, and I said to her in front of our agent, "Why did you do that? Now I'm not going to get any jobs."
Ooh.
And that's around the time that she sent me down to Mexico City to live with my family, because it was important to her that I be connected to my culture. And I just thought Spanish was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was this cool secret language
Yeah.
that my grandmother would speak with my aunts and uncles.
Yeah.
And so under that guise, she was like, "Oh, you want to learn Spanish? Go live in Mexico City." So I lived down there for the 3 months of my summer when I was 12 years old. And I came back on my 13th birthday, 3 inches taller with facial hair and a much deeper voice.
How funny.
So it really like came to symbolize manhood for me.
Yeah.
And it was such a, that was, if you were to ask me what are the 3 most critical moments in your life, I'd say my trip to Mexico, my suspension, and then my mother's passing.
Wow. It's funny because I come from a multicultural background myself, and it's fun because I always kind of knew that was very cool because I would have gumbo at Christmas, and they're like, "What's gumbo?" And then I have tostones when I go to my grandmother's in New York, and it was like I had different cultures. I thought it was really cool.
So now are you Puerto Rican and black?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to, because you could just be a dark Puerto Rican.
Okay, that's right. We come in all shades. and I interviewed Jaden Douglas, who's on telenovela, and she's blonde. And like we talk about, everybody comes in all shades, kids. We're not all just
And
like
what's her
Ricky
background?
Martin's. She's Puerto Rican,
Yeah.
and but like straight up, no mixtures at all.
Nice.
And was born in Puerto Rico, but raised in Nashville.
And raised in Nashville.
She's a great actress.
So she's a country girl.
Yeah, and we talked about that. She's a great actress. And we talked about that. Latinos come in all shades and
Yep.
colors, and sometimes they forget that. People forget that.
I mean, we're 7 billion people. The constructs are just there to make life easy, and in my opinion, easy is lame.
Yes.
It's easy for me to binge watch Netflix all day, but
Right.
how much do I accomplish doing
Right.
that. I accomplish way more doing the hard things. You know, yesterday I was running and I was like, I could go down this hill or I could go up that hill. I'm going to go up that hill. There's going to be it's going to be a little bit harder, but it's worth it.
Were you always like that? Were you always kind of like going up the hill?
I've always been about taking the harder path. I don't know what that is, but I've always accepted a challenge. Absolutely.
And so you made a conscious decision, it sounds like, when you were younger, because I mean, you're also alumnus of Steppenwolf in Chicago.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And so talk about that a little bit. How was that experience? I mean,
That was a critical moment for me because I was starting to get very insecure about calling myself an actor, even though I've been doing it since I was, a kid.
Yeah.
But, it's still a career that's based on, well, what have you done lately? And I'm still, my TV and film credits are still minimal. Well, I don't want to say minimal because it depends on who I'm comparing myself to.
Right.
Unfortunately, we always compare ourselves to
Yes.
the taller, more handsome
Yes.
guy with the more credits.
Yes. Yes.
And that's...
But in no comparison, you've done work. I mean, like I said, your resume goes on and on. You've done work.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
So, but there's still realms that I'm still trying to break through. So I was doing a play. Here's a great example of, you have to if you let life lead you, you will see the perfection in every day. Like if you just kind of like let it go and say, all right, let's see where this goes. So I was working really hard to get to play Uznavi in a production of In the Heights outside of Chicago.
Okay.
And I went through this whole big
Great show.
And I went through this whole big audition process, and I went to Chicago and met with them. And then I remember I was back here, and I got the call that I didn't get it. And I was like, man, like I really and I was gonna be home, and people were gonna be able to see me, and and like I went, all right, well, let's see what happens. Let's see what this is meant, why this is. And I think later that day, I got a call from another production working with Luis Alfaro, who's a MacArthur Grant recipient, amazing playwright, and he was doing a children's show with the Main Street Playhouse in Rancho Cucamonga with a bunch of my friends. I knew a couple of the people in the cast, and we ended up doing this wonderful kids show called Aesop of Rancho Cucamonga, and it was an amazing experience. We had a great time. Shout out to Justin Hewen, who I continue to have to owe 10% of every check to, because he always gets me in these projects.
Yes.
And it was there that I met a wonderful actor named Tony Sancho, who had just gotten back from the school at Steppenwolf.
Okay.
And he was like, you've got to do it. You should look into it. And so I auditioned and I got in. And it was an incredible experience. You're learning viewpoints, and you're learning Meisner and improv and on-camera technique, and all of these amazing skills for just my tool belt is so much denser now.
Yeah.
And you're learning from the best people in the game. You're learning from Amy Morton, who was Barbara in August Osage County. I worship this woman. Before I even had a chance to work with her, there's a video of me talking about what inspires me when I was leading up to doing my solo show Awake, and I mentioned her, and I'm like, Amy Morton in August Osage County is the most visceral, amazing performance. She was my teacher.
Wow.
So it was great. So yeah.
Like I said, you're an alumnus of so many different things. It's amazing. And so you had Steppenwolf, you have Princeton. So I mean, now you look back on it, how important is education, do you think? What does education mean to you?
I don't think when it comes to college, because people are always like, people are still impressed by Princeton, and I take great pride in it. I'm about to give a clap. Like, I worked hard.
I'm sure.
Somebody recently said to me, she was kind of like belittling me, saying like, you've never had it hard. And she came from like, a background in drugs and alcohol, and as a kid. And I was like, that's easy. Hard is doing the right thing. And it's, hard is the work. And we talk about it in, life is hard. But, so getting to Princeton was a big deal to me, but what I do love is I love higher education, regardless of what it is. I think the choice to say, I have a lot more to learn, is a critical piece. I mean, I went to the school at Steppenwolf when I was 41.
Yeah.
I just did it last year.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's what life is about, you know.
I always tell people it's not the Pain Olympics. Everyone has different, but everything's relative to people.
Yeah.
What
Absolutely.
they do. And to get into Princeton is no small feat. You should feel very proud of that.
Yeah.
And that you were there for a while, you should be very proud of that also.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that when people say things, well, I did this and I was this, I mean, it doesn't matter. Your stuff's good too.
Correct. Well, everybody has their thing. Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely never try. I hope it doesn't come across like I've worked harder than others.
No, not at all.
Because I think everyone has their thing. But it was really interesting. I was thrown by, you know, there's still this association of the, you know, growing up hard being very specific imagery.
Yes.
And I'm not saying, like, yeah, I've had some wonderful support that I don't take for granted. But, like, I made choices to, you know, stick with it and continue to put in the time, and it's been rewarding. Yeah.
Well, like I said, a lot of things that you do in your art is for the benefit of others, which I think is something.
It's a benefit for me first and foremost.
First, okay.
I mean, it's for me.
Okay.
It's for my health, and it's I will definitely say that because I personally believe that when people try to intentionally do things for others, I think you can sometimes avoid your own
Makes sense. Yes.
shit.
Say it. Shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't think that's fair to people. I think I have issues with, like,
Tell me.
no, because someone's gonna hate me out there. I have issues with, like, I have issues with, like, dog rescues. Like, I love taking care of dogs. I love taking care of dogs. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Didn't expect that. Okay.
Dogs are innocent. I get that.
Yes.
Sometimes it feels to me that it's a way to help. It's a safe way to help.
Okay, I get it.
It's a way without emotionally connecting with a human being who, you know, it feels like activism light sometimes.
I get what you're saying. Okay, I get what you're saying. Like, it's easier to go to an animal than to, like, another human being.
But,
or
you know, but that said, like, you know, I run an open mic for high school kids.
Yeah.
I had to choose in my own life how to keep my activism within a certain box.
Okay.
You know, I used to work for the Lacer Stars after school program,
okay.
which was started by Jackie Goldberg and Sharon Stricker, which is a wonderful, massive after school arts and literacy based program in Hollywood, and they work in numerous high schools and middle schools. But it had taken over my life, and that was the first 5 years of my life here, and I was skipping auditions because I couldn't not show up to tutor.
No,
or I
of course not.
couldn't
Right.
not show up for my hip hop culture dance class that I was teaching. But and I was taking kids on weekends to see theater. I was paying for things. I was driving them from here to there. I got a bunch of high school kids to then serve as mentors to the younger kids. So I, like, really, like, you know, testifying in court on behalf of one of my kids.
Wow.
Like, and it was fully encompassing. So when Downbeat 720, this high school open mic the opportunity came around, started by Justin Yoff in the city of Santa Monica. When that opportunity came around, I did it because I wanted to do it, but then I also did start to see, like, this will allow me to work with youth in a very confined timeline, so that twice a month I work with these kids, but that's it. You know, I'm not driving them places.
Yeah, every day, all the time, right? No, all the time. Yeah.
So that said, I totally get why people work with dog rescues.
I didn't see that coming. I was like, okay, that's interesting. Like, you know, there you go, kids. I don't know about that one, but yeah, but I get you saying.
But I get it, and I totally get why, you know.
Well, I feel like people should. I mean, getting off the dog thing, of course,
yes,
but like you bring up a good point about speaking up, or speaking up in a way in art. Because it can be very tricky for people, because especially people of color who say, well, I'm hard enough already trying just to make it in the business.
Yeah.
But now you're asking me to add that into my art and maybe say something that maybe shakes someone up. I mean, how do you navigate those choices where you're just like, almost cussed, screw it, this is just part of who I am, and I need to do this.
Wait, what?
Having social consciousness in your art.
I don't. It's funny. Somebody called me their favorite political comedian. I'm like, I don't see myself political in the least.
Okay.
I just saw Carlos Mencia perform in Ontario a couple nights ago, and he destroyed it. And I think he's a very strong political comedian, comic, but that's specifically what he talks about. Mm-hmm. I talk about me, and I do my best to investigate. Robin Williams once said, to reach the largest audience, find the most intimate truth. And so I'm just always I'm just working to look at my own life and go, is this interesting to others? These moments that I have, do I think that this is something that it's worth sharing? So, when I talk about my own self-doubt or my own day or whatever, I just try to make fun of the things that I see. So like,
is it more observation kind of comedy, or I mean, how do you see yourself as a comedian?
I mean, it's definitely not Jerry Seinfeld. Oh, those little moments.
Right.
I mean, I'm definitely, if there's anybody who influences me more and I'm gonna just let you guys out in the audience decide, because you'll decide on your own, because it's Louis C.K. I mean, he's so omnipresent right now.
Yes, he
and
is.
He's just a lot of people's major influence. I mean, Bill Hicks was another critical piece, but like growing up, the tapes that I listened to were Eddie Murphy, Billy Crystal, Joe Piscopo, Howie Mandel, Bobcat Goldthwait. Like those were the kind of the big ones that I would listen. Bill Cosby, of course, himself. I mean, who didn't listen to himself?
Right, of course, I listen to him too. Yeah,
those are the tapes that I listened to over and
actual
over and
tapes.
over again. Oh yeah,
I know. We're all I'm like tapes, actual
Absolutely.
tapes. Yes, exactly. And a little Panasonic thing I used to play all the time.
Yeah.
So you see yourself as just a humanist who's talking about yourself, and in a way that hopefully others can relate to.
Yeah. I mean, I just whatever happens to be the topic that day. I mean, right now all my material is about, dating and relationships and being a man, because that's where I'm at, So, Michelle Ndegeocello is a huge influence on me. Yeah. Like every album that's where she's at. Mm-hmm. And, if there's one thing I think I can take pride in, I've had doubts about my material or whatever, but if there's anything I think I can stand behind, is you see where exactly I'm at. When I'm on stage, that's it. Yes. That's what it is. Really? You may not agree with it. Right. You may have, it may not be funny to you, but it's real. So
yeah. And when you did a one-man show, and I talked to Joshua and other people about their solo shows, did you get out of it what you needed when you did it?
Yeah. So my first solo show, You Want a Piece of Me, was written as a direct result of being on the road with the Bomedy of Errors, which was a hip-hop version of Shakespeare's Comedy of Errors that I did for a couple of years. And it was a wonderful show, and I built some of my greatest friendships and got to travel the U.S. and the U.K. And unfortunately, people thought that we wrote the show and would be like, "That's amazing, you guys write." And we were like, "No, we're not the writers. We're just the actors."
Oh, funny.
And at the same time, I was hitting open mics in whatever city we were in. And so by the time I got back, I was like, "Well, I want to do something that is truly mine." And also, I'd really fallen into the poetry scene. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I think it was Luis Alfaro, who I ended up working with. And I remember inviting him to come see me perform. And he was like, "What time is it at?" At 10:30 on a Monday, and you're gonna read 3 poems? No, I'm not. And I think he was like, "When it's just you, let me know."
Oh wow!
And around the same time, Justin Yoff, who hired me for Downbeat 720, we were setting up for Downbeat, and he casually said, "Hey man, if you want to do a solo show, I'll produce it." And Jedi and I were working together a lot, and I was starting to want to do more with my poetry, and hey, if you could drop this track at this moment, and if the lights can do this at this moment. And so it just felt natural to like do a full solo piece. And I don't know if I got out of it what I wanted. Like, I thought I was going to become a star after 4 performances.
Oh, how funny. Okay.
I think I did maybe miss some opportunities. There were some people who showed interest in possibly,
developing the show, developing my story into something. And I just think I was young and naive that I let that opportunity pass.
Okay.
But it served. I mean, it definitely was another. I don't think there's definitely any like, and then that was the moment. I mean,
Right.
it's a series of moments.
Yeah.
Like I've had wonderful opportunities over the years. I mean, I haven't had a 9 to 5. Knock on
my head. Knock on wood.
plexiglass.
Yes.
Since 2002. You know,
That's
and that's
great.
5 years after I moved here. So
That's success. That's success.
So that's pretty lucky or fortunate or #blessed.
Yes.
And,
I never say lucky anymore. I feel like it's just fortunate, just that you created it.
Correct.
Not luck, really. People say like not luck.
It's a mix of being prepared and
Yes.
and putting the work in, and it did lead to other work opportunities, and I definitely created a lot of material that some of it maybe still gets used. I'm not sure. I don't think I perform a lot of that material anymore. But then my last solo show, Awake, it definitely served what it was meant to do.
Oh,
It was
good.
definitely there to simply be an excavation of where I was at after my mother's death.
Okay.
And so I consciously did not reach out to casting directors or agents or managers. Like, it wasn't about that for me. Now, upon retrospect, maybe I should have put a little more effort into that, because I mean, it was a solo show that ran for 5 weeks at the Bootleg, and we had wonderful audiences, and like, not everybody has that opportunity. And so, you know, comedians are always trying to put together a solid 60, and I'm happy that I'm able to be between poetry and stand-up and everything. I'm like, they're amazed. They're like, I was handing out flyers for Awake, and they were like, how long is the show? And I was like, 60 minutes. They're like, wow. I'm like, to me, that's nothing, but
Right.
that's also because it's a different medium.
Yeah.
You know, and what I do, developing a solid 60 in stand-up is harder.
I'm sure. Yes.
But so it served what it was meant to. And now the new show that I'm working on, I think it's going to be a mixture of all of it now. And hopefully with some real, I just feel like I'm in a good space right now. Like there's enough time that has passed, like 6 years. It's today. Today's the 6th anniversary of my mother's death, which is why I'm very emotional today.
Yeah,
and although I'm not going to use that as like, oh well, that's why. No, I get emotional anytime. So, but yeah, 6 years today, and I think I'm in a new space and able to. I'm processing differently now, and I can see how I can talk about it now.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense. And we get older, and you learn as you live longer that you live longer. And like,
go ahead.
I was saying, life continues, and so luckily, if you're present and open to it, you will learn things along the way as you stay in this world.
Yeah, I mean, two things are going through my head right now. People's deaths are not experiences really in their life as much as their experiences in the people who you leave behind. That's the critical thing, because that's how people's deaths affect you is more important. I mean, for the people who die, it's just their closing. It's just the end. It's the end titles.
Right.
So for us, it's like the third. It's the end, the beginning of the third act or whatever.
Yes,
it is.
exactly.
So that's the one thing. The other thing, what was I just saying? Death. Oh yeah, we learn more as we get older.
Yeah.
It's very weird that we don't comprehend that we're smarter human beings. Like, ignorance is bliss makes total sense. I get that now. I get how in my 20s I just didn't think, and I just did, and how I missed that. And now I'm like questioning everything because I know about the realities of the world.
There's a certain innocence back then that you almost wish you could keep it, so to speak, but you don't really want to keep it because you don't want to make
because
mistakes.
we're smarter now.
We're smarter now, right? Exactly.
I mean, they say ignorance is bliss, youth is king.
Yes.
So by the transitive property, youth is ignorance. Like it
Right,
really
right,
is.
right.
And we don't understand that we're smarter human beings now. I don't drink Smirnoff Ice because some company's telling me to do it. I drink it because I like it.
Right.
So, it's thank you.
Thank you.
But it's we're better now, and it's unfortunately somehow you get more insecure the older you get, which doesn't make sense, or at least I have.
Yes.
And I don't understand that because I'm a more well-oiled
Well, I think
machine.
it's society, I think. I just think they just tell you, well, when you're older, and then your balls drop, and this happens, and you get nose hairs, and you're not as desirable anymore. Or they say all kinds of things to you, but you're right. It's the opposite. I know more than I ever known in my entire life.
Yeah. Like, what's one thing that now that you didn't know as a kid?
That everything is not as serious as it seems at the time.
That's a good one.
Seriously, everything was so angsty. Oh God, I kept journals.
Do you have high school or teenager? Dude, you got to do
Mortified. I know. I've seen their shows.
Those are my homies, dude.
And they're same. I would love to do it. And they're the same time period as us. I mean, basically same age group. And I have every journal from 1980 to 1996.
We'll totally do it.
Okay, we'll do it.
I'm gonna actually be on an upcoming Mortified podcast.
Oh, how funny! Okay,
so yeah,
and you read it. People, if you don't know, put Mortified. It's a group that you take your actual journals and you read them as is. And I've seen the stage performances where they actually show the pictures you had, and sometimes you draw pictures in your journals. And I have the book, the original book, and I've seen some stage shows, and I've always wanted to go on there. Actually, it's funny you brought that up. I've always wanted to go on there.
Totally do it.
I'll do it. I have no shame, but just reading them back, I was like so angsty and so like, oh my God, it's the end of the world, and it really isn't.
No, and hopefully it allows us to keep our current problems in perspective.
Yes, completely. And also for me, just for the younger generation, I like to let them know things do pass. You do get through stuff. Just hang in there.
Yeah.
Just hang in there. Stay in your lane and hang in there. And life will change ultimately to something else.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to keep showing up. I mean, people always, I bombed tonight, and I'm like, no, you didn't. You're here. Like, the only people bombing are the ones who are at home right now. That's the only time I bomb, and that's what I hate, is when I just don't show up. As long as you show up, that's 80 or 85% of it.
What does art mean for you personally?
Revealing yourself in front of an audience and connecting people. I mean, the connection is the most important and critical part of life, and that's why we're here. And I think all anybody wants to know is that they matter, and that their life, that their existence means something. Whether it's the weightlifter who's making way too much noise, he's just trying to demonstrate that he's here. The homeless man who walks slowly across the street, and you're like, mother. He's affecting life for a second.
Yeah.
For a second, he feels as though he's actually affecting change, and I think that's, to me, that's what art is about.
I love you said that.
Yeah.
Because I always say about kids, because I have kids, I have grandkids, I have kids and grandkids.
No, you don't.
I do. I don't know, no one believes me, but I do. I just look so young and youthful. Yeah. But I always say that because you work with kids too, that they just want to know that they matter most of the time. Kids are very simple. I was with my granddaughter 2 weeks ago, and it was just Papa Jamie was here, and that he loves me and that he hears me. That's all that matters. She don't give two shits about my career, and I'm busy doing this show and have a radio show on Fridays. They don't care about that. Is that Papa Jamie came to town, took time out of his busy day, then get me all emotional, and I was just with them the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And that was it.
And that's all they want. And I think that's for most people, and we forget that sometimes. I'm going to bring it back to dating right now because that's just where I'm at.
Where you're at? Tell me where you're at.
I'm reading these women saying, online who are like, you got to have your shit together.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, well, unfortunately, for the most part, I don't know what that means. We don't know what that means. Yeah. And I think a lot of men are, including myself, we're misinformed. I think that we have to own this, and this, and be able to provide this, and this. I think because if I look at myself, I'm like, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for just somebody who I'm it. And the same way I think women want the same thing. They just want somebody who's just fully present and fully connected. And we get caught up in all this other stuff too often. And some of it makes sense. They're concerned, look, when I have to give birth to this thing, that you're going to be able to,
right.
You're not going to disappear on me.
We get that, of course.
And so, but yeah, I think most people, like you're saying, your grandkids.
I know, it's crazy.
They just want, I'll never forget being a kid, and my Uncle Ralph he's still my favorite uncle, because he just touched me on the shoulder. I go, how you doing, man? I love you, man. You're so great. You're so great. And that's like critical, you know.
I have people that I don't talk to all the time, but when we get together, it's like time never passed.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's really important, is that we all have lives and we're busy and things are going on, but that, every once in a while we do get together. It's just as special as always. It's just, I say it takes a village to raise me, I always say the whole time. And because we get away from, I come from family we came from village mentality. If you're from Africa, it was a village mentality thing. And in America, we're so like, it's all about me, it's all about me, it's all about me. And I'm like, I forget it. I love having to respect my elders. I love being there for the kids. I like being in the middle, so to speak. And I always think of my friendships and family, we're all in the same big village. Whether I see you today or see you in 3 weeks, it's going to be good.
Yeah. I mean, I've always seen America as just one big party, and I like to sit by the front door so that as people come in, nobody wants that douche at the front door who like kind of looks at you and then goes back to what they're doing. Right. You want somebody who's like, hey man, how's it going, man? Drinks are over there. Cool, nice. You want, and I kind of feel like that's what America should always be. It's like, hey man, good to see you. Come on in. It's over there. Right. And instead, it's like people are like, it's like people are coming in and it's like, oh, there's this guacamole there. And they're like, oh my God, that guacamole is so good. Oh my God, that guacamole is so good. And then the last person to come in is Pablo just coming across and there's no dip left. And they're like, who ate? Pablo, why did you eat? And it's like,
yes,
I just got here, dude. I'm not, why? Now I'm in trouble. No. Right. And that's unfortunate.
Great analogy. That's so true.
That was not a prepared joke. I want
people to know it wasn't prepared. I'm sure it wasn't. It just is a great analogy. I like that.
But I think that's what it is. Yeah. It's like, I mean, and I like a world where we welcome like that, and I think that's the best way.
Well, I say it on the show all the time. I like being a nice person. Mm-hmm. I think people should be nice. Nice should be the norm. Yeah. I think it doesn't cost anything to be nice. It really doesn't. But you gain so much by being nice. Yeah. Being nice doesn't mean you're a pushover.
No.
Or doormat.
Yeah.
And I think people just nowadays, because with the advent of just reality TV and all that stuff, it's like being a bitch is just a thing. And I've heard friends actually say that, like, when they think I'm a bitch, someone's going to be a bitch. Like, well, how's that work?
I mean, it's unfortunate that some people, I'm still amazed those people really exist and they actually are. Right. But it's, I don't understand it. I feel like there's just too much negativity. It's easy. It's just easy. Homophobia is easy. Racism's easy. It's easy to point the finger. It's why I'm working in my own life to do the hard things, because it's easy for me to go back to sleep. It's harder for me to get up. So
I like that. I can't believe time is almost up.
Is it?
Oh, you have to come back. Let's do a part 2.
This is so much fun.
Thank you. I asked 2 questions of my guests, the same 2 questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
And so now it's your turn. Because you actually touched this a little earlier. I believe in language. Yes. And language is something that can, stop us. But also can propel us forward. I think language is very important. Yeah. The way we say things. We talked about this a little bit. What word in English language do you think we should take out of our vocabularies?
What word should we take out of the English language? Oh man, I wish I would have. I remember you were doing this with Joshua, I totally thought in my head at the time, because I was like,
I never prepare people. I was going to hear what you think on the fly.
I mean, I don't like. I'll try.
It's a good one.
Yeah,
I don't do. I'll try.
There is. Yeah, I'm not going to even try to.
Just try.
But yeah, there is no try. There's only do. Mm-hmm. And yeah. Oh no! This is what I don't like. Ooh, okay. It's not. Are you about to ask me what do we need to put back in? Yeah. Here's what I don't like.
Okay.
Love ya. I don't like love ya.
Okay.
We've removed the I, and I think I love you is so much more important
and profound.
And a lot of people are saying love ya, and I don't like it. I think we're We're removing whether it's eye contact or the eye. I'm still trying to figure out what that connection is. But like we're removing our eyes, and the eyes.
I like that.
Yeah, the eyes are the window to the soul. So when you say I love you, it's way more powerful.
Yeah.
And too many people write love you, and I
It's
know
almost throwaway. It's almost throwaway.
and I know it's safe, and I know it's dangerous to put yourself out there, especially with social media and stuff like that. We do want to protect ourselves more, and I think, like I said, since my mom died, for the first time in my life, I have something to protect. Like I don't like to let it be seen all the time, and I have something I need to put away. I'm still amazed by Joe Biden. Joe Biden's story, if you remember, like he had just gotten elected to, I want to say the Senate, and like was about to be sworn in, and he lost his wife and his daughter, and his two boys were physically injured in a car accident.
I know.
Like, and he said after that, I would walk around dark neighborhoods drunk. I don't know if he said drunk, but he would definitely walk around dark neighborhoods looking for a fight.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get back up from that?
Yeah, some things, I don't know either sometimes.
And you learn how to put it away. It doesn't go away, you put it away. So I understand people wanting to guard themselves, but love you annoys me.
I like that. That's a great answer. I never thought that. Now I think about it differently now that you said that. And then what words do you think we should add into our vocabularies and say more?
The I. I knew you were going to go there. I was
Yes.
like, I should have just said it in a second. What word do we want to take out? Let's go back to that one. I mean, it's kind of what I said yesterday or earlier yesterday. It's been here that long. Saying until today.
like
what
that.
is it we're carrying that we don't need to carry? I carry so much stuff that I don't need to carry anymore. I still carry Mireya Garcia in 8th grade, writing in my 8th grade yearbook, "Stay sweet and cute." Like that.
Yeah.
That became my thing that I care. Oh, that's who I am. Unaware that Irene Martinez wrote, "Puerto Ricans do it better. Let's do it next year." Like I didn't pay attention to that
you
because
didn't.
that didn't fit my narrative that I had told myself that it's better to be a nice gentleman. And then it's like, you're just, no, I mean, like, yeah, but that doesn't mean you're inauthentic when you want to date somebody or whatever.
Or when you're horny.
Yes, correct.
It's okay. It's okay. You can still be a horny gentleman.
We're totally horny. Like, we can't deny it.
Right.
It's in our genes.
It's in our
I think
genes,
it's in
literally.
everybody's.
Yes.
I think it's in women's too. They have a harder construct that they're working.
I agree with that. That's a whole other show too by itself, but I agree with you on that one. I do agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
They have it too.
If you have a show about gender construction, I want to be on that.
Trust me, I'm trying to rule the world, as you know. I'm trying to rule the world. I'm trying to get everything.
James Lott Jr. The superorganizer.com.
So tell the folks out there, that camera, where they can actually find it, because you have a show coming up with Joe.
We have a show
with
this
Joshua.
Friday. Gosh,
Yes.
if you're in Los Angeles, come see us in Santa Monica. We're going to put on a great show. And that's at the Miles Playhouse at 8 p.m. All of the information can be found on my website, pochojoe.com, pochojoe.com. If you know about Mexicans and Mexican Americans, Mexicans used to make fun of Mexican Americans by saying, "No eres mexicano, eres pocho." You're not really Mexican. You're more of an American mutt. And Lalo Alcaraz, one of the executive producers on Border Town and also the creator of La Cucaracha, the political cartoon, he nicknamed me Pocho Joe. And so we take it as a term of pride. We believe todos somos pochos. We are all pochos. Yes. You can't grow up in the United States without being influenced by so many cultures. Yeah. So if you grew up like me, putting mayonnaise on your tortilla as a snack, you are a true pocho. So that's where you can find me, is pochojoe.com. And all the information for the show will be on my website in about 10 minutes.
Yes. And of course, you follow us on Black Hollywood. I'm breaking into my Facebook page and my stuff. I put his stuff on there, so he'll be on there also. You can see more links to him. Thank you so much for being on my show.
You're so awesome. I love you.
Thank you. I love you too. I like that. And so next time, you'll see me again here on Black Hollywood Live. This is Breaking Into. I'm James Lott Jr., and we'll see you next time.
From executives Kevin Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live. Sip me, Instagram me, @KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in. The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.